No lights lit the front of the small seafood restaurant and fish store. I didn't even try the door. I hurried around to the alley and went in the back door. Inside the kitchen, I called, "Tallulah!" She stuck her head out from a heavy stainless steel door with a handle like those on refrigerated trucks. She waved me over and pushed open the door of a walk-in cooler. "Thank God you're here. It's awful, Mac. I didn't know what to do." "What's going on? Are you okay?" What in there could have made her wail and ask for help? Had she spilled her lobster bisque stock, broken a 5-gallon crock of homemade pickles, and cut herself? I hurried across the kitchen to join her. Tallulah, shaking, pointed at the floor. She didn't shake only from the cold. On the cement lay Annette DiCicero, as still as a washed-up log of driftwood. This is Murder at the Lobster Shack. Hello and welcome to That Girl Reads. I'm that girl and I read. As you can tell from our amazing intro, this is The Murder at the Lobster Shack. Yes, and as you can see, I have my bib. I know it's not of a lobster, it's a crab. But we will be serving you some tasty, buttery, seafood delicious reviews. All right, enough of me being silly. So yes, it is The Murder at the Lobster Shack by Maddie, and this is the third book of the Cozy Capers Murder Mysteries of the series. So this is book 3. Yes, it is. So let's get into it. So Murder at the Lobster Shack has a total of 61 chapters. It has a total of 310 pages, and that is, of course, including the amazing recipes in the back. Yes, Maddie Day makes sure that she still gives out the amazing recipes. So check that in the back of the book. So 310 pages. And of course, you know what time it is. That's right. It is time for our book camp. All right, here is our amazing book. As you can see, as always, I always talk about how great the detail and the coloring is and how it's so relatable to what's happening. So this is the front. And as you can see, unlike Murder at the Taffy Shop that had the beautiful raised letters, this is flat. There's nothing raised. And it could be because where I got my book from. So that might be it. That could be the reason why. You might get your book somewhere and it might have the pretty raised edges, but mine does not. So just to let you know that. So let's turn it to the side. To the side. Really pretty purpling on the backing, on the spine here. All right, let's turn it to the back. See what that back do? That's right. The back is backing. Really pretty color again. Okay, now we're going to turn it to the other side. That's right. Time to see how thick it is. You know we like thick books around here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this book is a little bit thicker than the Taffy Shop one. So yes, we have a little thicky here. We like thick books and we cannot lie. Okay, I'm being way too silly. So yes, this is Murder at the Lobster Shack. Okay, so that's our book cam. So I took off my bib and things because I didn't know if it was making too much of a rattling noise when I'm moving around, because I'm a very animated type of person and I like to move around. So I'm just talking away and the whole time you're hearing just like this crunching noise. So I took it off. But anyway, so let's get into it. We are going to jump right into the characters. Yes, the characters. And we have some new characters. So, along with Mac Alameda, as you may know, and if you don't know because you're new here, welcome. Mac Alameda, she is our main protagonist for every book, from the Murder at Cape Cod, the Murder at the Taffy Shop, and of course here at Murder at the Lobster Shack. Yes, Murder at the Lobster Shack. So, she owns a bike shop. All her family is in town. She's part of this amazing book group with her brother and other people that are in the town of Westham. So that is Mac Alameda, just a little short version of her. So let's get into the other main characters for the Lobster Shack. So we get to talk about Tulia Peters. Tulia Peters. So Tulia Peters, if you have read the previous 2 books or have listened to my review, you will know that Tulia Peters, she is the one who owns the Lobster Shack, as well as she is also good friends with Mac and the Cozy Capers Book Club. Yes, she is part of the Cozy Capers Book Club. So that makes the 3rd member of the Cozy Capers Mystery Book Club who has been faced with a murder. Yes, a murder. So as I read in the beginning, Tulia found Annette, who I'm going to get to, found Annette dead in her freezer. Yes, in her walk-in freezer where she keeps all the food and goodies. She found her dead with a piece of like utensil. It's something that Tulia she made specifically for her shop. So when people are eating lobster, it's easy for them to eat it. So she found it with it stuck in her neck. Yes, stuck in her neck. How did she get there? Or does Tulia know how she got there? Okay, so that is Tulia Peters. And we are going on to Annette. So Annette DiCicero, she's in her early 30s. She was stabbed in the neck with this lobster claw utensil. She was found by Tulia, and we come to find out. So here's a little extra little something. Annette is allergic to seafood. Dun, dun, dun. That's right. She is allergic to seafood, especially lobsters and shellfish. So you're probably wondering, what would a woman of her caliber do be found dead in a freezer filled with seafood? Why would she ever be caught dead there? Plenty. Sorry. Talking about death here. So yes, so Annette is allergic to lobster and shellfish, and she is found dead in a lobster shack. Isn't it ironic? So yeah, so that is the person who has been murdered. And this story will completely be about her, who could possibly have murdered her, who and how was she murdered. I know I mentioned about the lobster claw being stuck in her neck, but that could possibly be the murder weapon. All right. So next we have Phil DiCicero, which is Annette's husband, and he owns a furniture store. We also have her 5-year-old daughter, Kendall, who is also really good friends with Cokie, and Cokie is Mac's niece, which is Derek's daughter. Yes. And then we have a new deputy. And her name is Deputy Kimura, and she shows up a lot of, pretty good amount in the story. Not as much, but she is there and she is new. We have, of course, Deputy Jenkins from the last story, the Taffy Shop. And then we go on and we also have Doris Sanderson. So the next person we'll be mentioning is Doris Sanderson. Doris Sanderson owns Paws and Claws in Westham, and her pet store is a pet store, and her pet store is right behind Tulia's Lobster Shack. So yes, it's right behind Tulia's Lobster Shack, and we can just say that Doris does not like Tallulah too much. Doris doesn't like a lot of people too much, as you know, we come to read on things. And yeah, because she gets upset that Tallulah leaves her, I guess, seafood and things like that in the garbage can, and she says it leaves a smell. And whether that's true or not, but either way, she has a disdain toward Tallulah. So take that with whatever you want. Also, a little extra information about Doris. We come to find out that Doris she used to run beauty pageants, probably almost 20 years ago. Yes. And Annette won the beauty pageant that was coached by Doris. The connections, the connections, connecting the dots. I know, we're getting right into it. No lagging around. Yes. So Doris used to coach beauty pageants, and Annette won a beauty pageant that Doris had coached. So Doris also knows Annette. Okay, follow me here. And then she has a problem with Tallulah at the Lobster Shack. Now, I'm not saying that she the killer, but she might be. Let me stop. I will not tell you. If I do ever decide to tell you who the killer is, I would definitely put a warning sign. So trust me. And just because I'm giving you all these connections and these clues does not mean, okay, that they're the killer. All right. And so next we have Nia. Nia Rodriguez. That's right. Nia Rodriguez. Love it. She's a homeless woman, and she gets food at the church that Mac's father works at, and he also does like a food bank where he helps out the homeless and gives like the brown bag of food, and they can come and eat, like a soup kitchen type of situation. And she's seen in town walking by Mac's bike shop. She's seen walking by back and forth. And we also come to find out that Nia knows Doris, because Nia used to be in a beauty pageant with Doris as the coach. Follow me here. And it's the same year that Annette won the beauty pageant. So they were in a beauty pageant together at the same year at the exact same time, and they knew each other. So we have that. We have Nia. And then we have Silas Carter. He runs a congregation and type of worship of like I think it's like the Amish people. And so he has his own kind of like congregation, own church and things like that. And so he's a new character that's involved, and he has some information about a certain character that I will be bringing up soon. So now we have Ogden, and I saved him because something that Silas had to talk about. So first, Ogden works for Phil. And remember, Phil is Annette's husband. So he works for Phil and in his furniture shop, and he deals with the books, like he deals with the banking and the books and things like that. He also, come to find out, his son is sick and in the hospital. So he's taking care of his son. He's a single father. And on top of that, we come to find out that him and Doris, yes, good old Doris, Doris are an item, like they're dating, they're together. And she's also living in one of his, I guess, apartments or something that he owns. He owns like apartments, or maybe like a room that he's like boarding to her, like renting to her. Because I forgot to mention that Doris has a gambling problem. She has a major gambling problem, right? And she also likes to go to the soup kitchen, where you can find Nia and some of our other characters that are going to be coming up. So yes, we have Ogden. Yes, so Ogden. And so how that relates to Silas, who is, the pastor or whatever you want to call for the Amish people over that congregation, he used to work and be an accountant at that church. But they had to relieve him of his duties because of the fact that they found out that he was skimming money off the top. He was taking money from the church. So take that what you will. Okay. So yes, next we have Witter. So he's a homeless man, very eccentric, has a criminal record, and has a lot of past crimes. And he does something in the book where he ends up having a mental breakdown and end up trying to start a fire in Mac's father's church. So yeah, that happened. And then we also, lastly, we have Rose DiCicero. We have Rose DiCicero, which is Phil's mother. This is Annette's mother-in-law. And she works at the soup kitchen as well. So it's just one big old happy family at the soup kitchen. It really is. And like everybody is all related. So these are our characters. We have a lot, and I mean a lot of brand new characters that have been added to this list. I think maybe one or two I mentioned that was like recurring. Everybody else, brand new characters. So yeah. So next, let's get into our Rose and Thorn. All right. So with our Rose and Thorn, I would be going over the Rose first. So let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the good. Like I said, most of the time you're always going to hear me talk about how I like the book. I like the book. I like these books. I think if I ever got to that point where I didn't like the books, I probably would stop reading the series like completely. But no, this is a really good book. The book had a good balance between the first and the second one. So what I mean by that is that, let's talk about this. The good is that Maddie Day, great characters, fleshed them out, great backstories to these characters, great character development. And then like with the second one, it kept your interest. So she knew how to keep your interest. Now the pacing of this book, it's a little off here and there. It's not as like bam, bam, like, quick paced and like consistent throughout the whole entire book, like in the second book. But it's still enough with the pacing and with the information that it keeps you engaged and interested in the story and what's happening. So yeah, so definitely the balance between the first two books, it balances out with this third book. Something else that I really, really enjoyed when it came to this book as well, that I love that Maddie Day did, is that she allows us to see the rest of Westham, right? A lot of times we just completely congregated either at Mac's cottage or at her brother's lighthouse or at a bike shop or, and things like that. So this gives us a chance to kind of even expand even further out. Like with the taffy shop, we got to expand out like to the outskirts of town with the different restaurant and the different clothing store, that type of things. But we didn't get to expand as far. With this book, oh honey, we expanded, okay? Like with Doris, and to find out that she has her own little pet store that's right beside Tallulah's, to go to find out there's another church and congregation of people. So we're not just thinking that all these people in town just go to her dad's church, that they all have, there are different places that people can go to. We even expand to the hospitals as well. Now, we didn't get to go inside the hospital, but it did expand to the hospital because Aberree gets hurt. She falls and hurts herself. She's okay. She's fine. She's alive. She's well. So don't worry about her. That is Mac's grandmother. She falls and hurts herself. So she has to go to the hospital. So we expand even there. So I really enjoy having Maddie Day just expand with Westham. They really give us a good taste of Westham. I also didn't even have a problem with them not focusing so much on the bike shop, because the first two books we focused so much on the bike shop. People coming in, going out, kids going in, going out, parents coming in, going out. People, she constantly had to tell them to leave the bikes outside, and then, you know, she has her brother and things like that fixing on the bikes or renting bikes out and all this little stuff. Or we have Dorleen working on the bikes. So it's like, it's always a lot of ins and outs when it comes to the bikes. And she does spend some time in the bike shop, especially with her niece coming over, and then introducing her to Kendall, which is Annette's daughter. And then she got to meet Phil and everything else like that. So yeah, it's a lot going on. So you're still going to get that if you really want to have that. It is still there. I like it that we don't spend so much time, because we get it. Like, I like to expand more of Westham. So I really enjoyed that. And then on to the character development. Oh, I would probably say this book has the best character development. Like the first one, I understand, like, you have to do a lot of explaining and try to get people interested in the book, as well as explaining these characters that nobody doesn't know anything about because it's the first book. So then the second book, people kind of got a groove of what's going on, and then you're kind of implementing new characters into the story. And sometimes when you're implementing new characters into this story, at times you can kind of miss over things, because you're like, okay, I want to tell them, but I want to get to the juicy stuff. And sometimes you're not really fleshing out your characters enough where we feel anything for these characters. Like, you might tell us a little bit in pieces about our personalities, but I feel like with the second book, at the Taffy Shop, we had it where the characters and stuff were kind of explained through other characters. Instead of it being just themselves, it was other people like explaining how they were. And then like we met them a little bit, and then you kind of find out that it was some other totally opposite things that were happening too. So yeah. But with this one, it was a great balance of both, where when she told these characters, like with Annette, and things like that, yes, she was able to describe Annette through other people, but it was in a way where you got all these different perspectives of her, but it was cohesive. It wasn't like, oh, this person thought she was great, and then this person thought she was terrible. It was like pretty cohesive that she was a decent person, even if she might have had some arguments. Like her and Tulia actually got in an argument about what to call, if I'm not mistaken, Columbus Day. I think she wanted to call it Indigenous Day or something. I can't remember fully what she wanted to call it, but I know they got into a little spat about that and stuff, which is why, you know, Tulia was looked also as a suspect, because they got into an argument about that, I think like a year prior, and things like that. But either way, like, it goes into great details about these characters, their, you know, like their religions, going to about their children, where they come from, some of them a little bit about their culture that we come to find out, like Tulia. And we also found out Detective Haskins, the one who's been handling all the cases, they're Wampanoag. They're from the Wampanoag tribe. So I totally did not know that. At least I don't remember. Like I said, I don't, you know, but it popped up a lot here. Like it popped up enough to fit the story, to kind of like, you know, add in those little bits and pieces to give them great character developments. Everybody had their own set personality, that when their name popped up, Dora's name popped up, you're like, oh, here we go. I know what we're about to expect. When Nia popped up, you're like, oh, all right, what we about to get today? How Nia's gonna be, you know, and things like that. So it was great character developments. And like I said, we have, I mean, like I think I've named over 10 characters. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like, yeah, 11 characters, over 10 characters that were brand new, that were added to this book. It's amazing. It's absolutely, it's great. I think it's wonderful that we have those many characters, and you name any of them. You say Kendall, you know what you're going to get. She's kind of shy and kind of quiet, and you know, she's kind of standoffish because her mom just, you know, died. And so it's hard for her to understand, but she's still a kid. You know, she's 5. She's the same age as Koki, you know, and things like that. And she gives off little bits of information and things about her mom and about her grandma and things like that. So we have a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, this character development is off the charts. I really appreciated that. Something else I personally wanted to talk about, because this is something that sometimes it's like I like to nitpick, but this is a good nitpick, and I wanted to show you. And this is especially for people who are like me, who like to have physical books. Now, I do like digital books too, so don't get me wrong, I don't discriminate. I like digital books, my Kindle. But if you're a person who love physical books, I wanted to show you this because I had mentioned this I think in my first book review about Maddie Day, and that is when sometimes when Mac is talking, like when she's like having a conversation, I had mentioned in the very first review that I did on this channel, and the first book review for this series, Cozy Caper series, that when Mac talks, sometimes I can't tell if she's talking to herself or talking to somebody else, or if she's texting. So guess what Maddie Day did? Bow! She bolded it. So I don't know if you guys can see this. I know, like I said, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you know, you can kind of see like it's a darker tone and stuff, but she bolded it. And so what that means is, like, when she mentions, for instance, like, oh, she's about to, like, she's like thinking, like, it's in bold, so you know that, oh, she's thinking. And then if she's like sending the text message to the Cozy Caper group, or to Detective Haskins, or to Derek, her brother, it's bolded so that it stands out and it's not just blended in with the rest of the page. I freaking loved it. I love this. I think that is genius. Like I said, I don't know if you guys can like see that or not or whatever, but at least you can see, like, you can kind of see some of the darkness on it or whatever. Yeah, it's not going to do it for me. It's like, no. But that's okay. But yeah, but she does that throughout the entire book. As you can see, she does that throughout the entire book. So it's easy for you to see. And when Mac is either thinking in her head, or she's texting. So I absolutely loved that. I thought that was great. And that is something personally for me, and probably people who are, like who have physical books and like things like that. So I'm kind of happy that she listened about that. That makes me happy. So now let's go on into our Thorn. I don't really have too much to say about our Thorns, too much. Watch I say this and go on this long rant like last time. Sorry about that, but not really that sorry. So with this one, the only problem I had, and it has nothing to do with ending. It didn't have a quick ending like the second book, where it was just rushed and you're like, whoa, hold up, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have a rushed ending, but the way Maddie Day set this up, it has a feeling like it's supposed to be 2 killers. This is not necessarily a spoiler alert that I would say, but if you're reading it, it technically kind of is like 2 killers in this, but she only leaves it down where it's 1, and it's really, if you read it, it's really 2 killers. Like, however you look at it, it's like 2 killers, but it's really 2 killers, but she made it seem like it was just 1 killer. And my whole thing is, like I mentioned in my second review for the Taffy Shop, don't be afraid to push that boundary. Let it have 2 killers. Shoot, it could be 3 killers. It could be more than that. Because she set it up so beautifully, where it's like you have this happening and it looks like, okay, it could be cut and dry. And then when they do investigations, they found out like, oh, wait a minute. Just because she has this something on her or something happened to Annette, that really wasn't a reason that actually killed her. Something else killed her. Now you're like, hold up, wait a minute, what? What else could have killed her, you know? Yeah, and things like that. So you have these two separate entities, these two separate people that probably, you know, two separate people that either know each other or don't know each other and have a great motive to maybe want Annette dead. And they didn't, and she had the opportunity to say like, oh, it's these two people that were involved, but she made it be where it was only one person. Personally, I think we should have did too. She set it up that way. It would have been awesome. I like when there's more than one killer, and things like that, because it makes it scarier, as well as, but with this, it wouldn't have been as scary. It would have been just more of like, oh, you know, this beautiful woman, great mother, majority of people liked her, and you have two people who want her dead. She set it up to be that way, but there's only one killer. So that's a little spoiler that it is one killer, but she set it up to be two. When you read it, I don't have too many other thorns, but just this one thing that I do have that I wanted to bring up. Not necessarily bad, but she tends to do this, is where at the end, she leaves like sometimes this weird ending where it's like, either it feels like somebody else is involved. That's what it felt like the first time. And then the second time, it was like really rushed. And this time it wasn't rushed at all. Like it had a really great ending. Like it was fire. It was more of, I personally would say, it felt like the ending of the series. So, and I'll tell you this. So it felt like the ending of the series is kind of where like everybody congregated together. Not like Agatha Christie style. Not like, oh, you know, we're going to find out who did it. No. Nothing like that. But it's like the end of the book. And it's just like everybody comes together, talks about, you know, whomever the killer was, and filling in the blanks. And Detective Haskins actually comes together, filling blanks. He's never done this. Like, she's never had Detective Haskins ever sit with anybody like as a group and like fill in like information about the case. He's never done this. Now he could be just opening up, since this makes the third murder in Westham within less than 3 months, or within 3 months or so. But otherwise than that, it felt like the ending, because how Maddie Day wrote it, it's like he comes in and he sits down and he eats and he drinks and he fills in the information, and then he gets up and he walks by the window, and you know, they're watching him walk off, and I'm like, is this the ending of the series? Now, of course it's not, because there's a book right after this. There is a book right after this, and there is another book coming out this year, 2023. I think in the fall, if I'm not mistaken. There's another book coming out, so it's definitely not the end of the series. But if you read this book and you get to the end, it kind of felt like the end of this book. So that's why I said sometimes she does this weird thing where she'll have this ending where you're like, what's happening? Is there somebody else involved? Is you know, like, are we gonna find out what happened to this and this, because you got some missing pieces that don't connect? Or this ending where it's like, it feel like it's the ending of something. So I don't know, maybe that's her little, what to say, like signature move, like you just know it's Maddie Day because she does these type of endings like that. But personally, I'm kind of like, she can hold back on that a little bit. Not too much. Like I said, that might be more of me nitpicking, but otherwise than that, I'm like, it's not enough. Like, it's not necessarily a thorn, just me like kind of nitpicking. That's all that is. But otherwise than that was it. I don't really have too much with the thorns. So with this book overall, it has a lot of everything. It has some emotional stuff, not too much emotional. I don't know why I said that. It's not that emotional. But it does have like a mixture of things. It's, you know, a little bit of humor. It definitely has a suspense, keeps you intrigued. Some people a little aggressive, and things like that. I don't know. It had a good balance. I really enjoyed this book. It still didn't have the good behind like pacing, where it was just like on a roll. Like the second book. But it definitely was better than the first. So I do like this better than the first book. Probably not as much as the second book, only because of the pacing was kind of off here and there. But the character development was better than the second book. And we had a lot of new characters. So, and also, like I said, also distinguishing between when Mac was thinking or texting someone or something like that. So I really like this book. This is up there with the second one. I would say almost neck and neck. It's that pacing of the book that's getting me. And I like sometimes that's what gets me about my own self, because I'm like, the ending was kind of trash, like too fast at the ending of the second book, but I still gave it like 4.5 stars. And this one, the pacing was not as consistent, but it was interesting, and the character development was amazing. It just, the pacing of it wasn't as like I would like it to be, kind of like a good rhythm, which is why I'll probably knock off some points. So that's going to lead me into my bookmark review. So my bookmark review that I will have for The Murder at the Lobster Shack will be a solid 4 bookmarks. Yes, I would have gave it probably 4.5 or full 5 bookmarks if the pacing wasn't off. It had the character development, which was better than the second one. Okay, the characters was great, good ending, great ending. You're not going to be disappointed in the ending, even though I nitpick about like she set it up for 2 killers, but it's still nothing to nitpick about. But otherwise than that, it's the pacing. I like something that has a good pace and rhythm to it, because even if it's intriguing, if it has a good pace and a rhythm to it, and you really get into it, like where you could probably finish the book in one sitting if you wanted to. I like books like that. I appreciate that. So, but I don't want her to get rid of any of this when it comes to the 4th book, because of the fact that I love the character development. I love what she's doing with the pages. I want the pacing to be more consistent, but I also still want her characters to be, you know, fleshed out, still have a solid, good ending. Don't be afraid to push those barriers, baby. Don't be afraid. If you want to have multiple killers, baby, go ahead and do it. I'm here for you. I'm here with you. Do that. Okay, so the next book, which should be book 4 of our Cozy Capers mysteries that we will be reading, it's called Murder in a Cape Cottage. Yes, Murder in a Cape Cottage. And this book came out September 27th, 2022. So it came out last year. Yes, it did. It came out last year. And so wait for that book review, and we'll have a beautiful book cam. And yeah, so hopefully we'll see how far this train goes. The murder train. The Cozy Capers murder train. Okay. So yeah, that's it. So ta-ta for now. Ta-ta.